Gentlemen, here is a truth most men over 60 have never been told, and it may shock you. The harder you try to force an erection, the more your body quietly shuts it down. Not because you are broken, not because you are weak, but because after 60, effort is no longer what creates erections. In fact, effort is often what destroys them. For many of you, this struggle happens in silence. You lie there feeling desire in your mind, yet your body hesitates, fades, or goes numb. You feel the pressure to hurry before it's gone. You tense your muscles. You hold your breath. You push yourself mentally, hoping willpower will make your body respond. And when it doesn't, the disappointment cuts deep. It doesn't just affect intimacy. It affects confidence, identity. The quiet fear that maybe this part of life is over begins to creep in. Here's the paradox no one ever explained. Erections are not a strength response. They are a calm response. The more relaxed your nervous system is, the stronger your erection potential becomes. The more anxious, rushed, or pressured you feel, the faster your body moves into shutdown mode. This is why pills sometimes fail, and why trying harder often makes things worse. But here is the promise I want you to hear clearly. This is not a long process. When you activate the right nerve the right way, your body can begin responding differently within 24 hours, sometimes sooner. No forcing, no embarrassment, just working with your biology instead of fighting it. My name is Dr. Mohit Kara. I am a board-certified urologist, and for more than 30 years, I've helped men over 60 understand why their bodies changed and how to safely, naturally bring confidence and performance back. And what I'm about to show you next is where that change truly begins. Before we go any further, I want to invite you to take one small step with me. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and do that now and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss future guidance created specifically for men over 60. And in the comments, type 1 if this message resonates with you, or 0 if you want me to improve it, because what comes next is where real understanding begins. 1. Why erections fail after 60 is not what you think. Let me begin this section with a truth that many men are not prepared to hear, but one that can change how you see your body forever. For most men over 60, erections do not fade because the body has reached its limit. They fade because the body has learned to protect itself for too long. This distinction matters more than you realize because it shifts the story from loss to understanding. I have sat with men who believed their bodies had simply given up on them. Men who did everything right their entire lives. They worked hard, stayed disciplined, avoided complaining, and carried responsibility quietly for decades. And now, in the most private moments of their lives, they feel betrayed by a body that no longer responds the way it once did. That pain is rarely spoken out loud, but it sits heavy in the chest. It shows up as frustration, embarrassment, and a silent fear that something essential has slipped away. What most men don't understand is that the aging male body does not shut down intimacy. It tightens, it guards, it stays alert. Years of stress, pressure, and self-expectation condition the nervous system to remain on high alert, even when the danger is long gone. And an alert body cannot open itself to arousal. It doesn't matter how strong the desire is in the mind. The body listens first to safety, not intention. After 60, the nervous system becomes the gatekeeper. If it senses urgency, pressure, or fear of failure, it redirects blood away from the penis without asking permission. This is why so many men describe erections that start but don't last, or respond one day and disappear the next. It feels unpredictable, almost cruel. But in reality, the body is doing exactly what it was trained to do: protect. There is a quiet sadness in realizing this. Many men blame themselves. They think they've lost discipline, confidence, or masculinity. But the truth is far more compassionate. Your body has not abandoned you. It has simply been speaking a language you were never taught to understand. And once you recognize that erections after 60 are not a test of strength, but a reflection of internal calm, something begins to shift emotionally. The struggle becomes less personal and more biological. This understanding is where relief begins. Because if the problem were truly age alone, there would be nothing you could do. But if the problem is a nervous system stuck in protection mode, then there is a clear path forward, a path that does not involve forcing, chasing, or proving anything to yourself or anyone else. And this brings us to the deeper question that every man over 60 deserves an answer to. If the body is protecting itself, what exactly is controlling that protection, and how can you gently turn it off without fighting yourself? 2. The nerve that decides everything. There is a moment every man over 60 remembers, even if he never talks about it. The moment when desire is there, the situation is right, the connection is real, and yet the body hesitates. In that instant, many men believe something mechanical has failed: blood flow, hormones, age. But what if I told you the real decision was made long before that moment by a system you were never taught to notice? Here is the shock most men never hear. Erections are not controlled by desire, attraction, or effort. They are controlled by your nervous system. And after 60, that system becomes the final authority. You cannot negotiate with it. You cannot command it. You can only work with it. Your nervous system exists for one reason: survival. It constantly asks a single question, often without your awareness. Am I safe right now? When the answer is yes, the body opens. Muscles soften, blood vessels widen, sensation deepens. Intimacy becomes possible. But when the answer is no, even subtly, the body closes itself off, instantly and completely. For many older men, the nervous system has spent years living in a state of vigilance. Decades of pressure, responsibility, deadlines, financial stress, health concerns, and unspoken worries condition the body to stay alert. Even in moments that should feel calm, the system remains guarded. And a guarded body cannot surrender to arousal. This is why erections after 60 feel unpredictable. One night things work, the next night they don't. The inconsistency creates anxiety, and that anxiety sends the nervous system an even stronger message that something is wrong. The body responds the only way it knows how: by tightening, restricting blood flow, and pulling energy away from the penis. What makes this so painful is that men often internalize the failure. They believe it reflects weakness or loss of identity, but the nervous system does not care about pride or masculinity. It cares about safety. If it senses pressure, fear of failure, or emotional tension, it chooses protection every time. This is also why willpower does nothing. You cannot think your way into an erection if the nervous system is on guard. In fact, the more you monitor yourself, the more pressure you create, and the stronger the shutdown becomes. This is not a personal flaw, it is a biological reflex. Yet there is something quietly reassuring in this truth. Because if one system is deciding everything, then learning how to communicate with that system changes everything. The nervous system is not your enemy. It is listening. It is responsive. And when approached the right way, it can be guided back into a state where intimacy feels safe again. The question is no longer whether erections are possible after 60. The real question becomes this: which pathway inside your body has the power to calm the nervous system and reopen the door to natural arousal? And why have so few men ever been shown how to use it? 3. Meet the vagus nerve, your hidden erection switch. What I'm about to tell you may feel unsettling at first, because it means something very important. For years, the power to restore your erections was never missing. It was simply hidden in plain sight. While men were taught to chase hormones, blood flow, and performance tricks, the true switch was quietly deciding everything in the background, without noise, without drama, without asking for your attention. That switch is the vagus nerve. Most men have heard the name, but almost no one has been told what it truly does for intimacy after 60. The vagus nerve is not a muscle. It is not a gland. It is a communication highway that runs from your brain down through your heart, lungs, stomach, and into the very center of your pelvic system. It is the nerve that tells your body whether it is safe enough to let go. When this nerve is active, the body softens, the breath slows, blood vessels open, pelvic muscles release their grip. Blood is finally allowed to move freely where it matters most. This is not arousal created by excitement. This is arousal allowed by calm, and that difference changes everything. When the vagus nerve is quiet or blocked by years of stress, the opposite happens. The chest tightens. Breathing becomes shallow. The pelvis holds tension without you realizing it. Blood flow is restricted, not because something is broken, but because the body is still guarding itself. In that state, erections become fragile, inconsistent, or absent altogether. I have watched men sit in front of me, shoulders tense, jaw tight, convinced their problem lived in their penis. When I explained that the real issue lived higher up, in the nervous system's ability to relax, many of them grew quiet. Not because they were confused, but because something finally made sense. They had spent years fighting their bodies, never realizing their bodies were asking for permission, not pressure. There is something deeply emotional about this realization. It reframes the struggle. You stop seeing yourself as someone who is failing and begin to see yourself as someone whose body has been waiting for the right signal. The vagus nerve is that signal. It is the pathway that shifts your body out of survival mode and back into connection mode. This is why men can feel a sudden warmth, a loosening, a sense of presence when this nerve is activated. It is the body remembering how to open itself again, not forcefully, not desperately, but naturally, the way it was always designed to. And here is the part that stays with many men long after they hear it. You do not activate this nerve by trying harder. You activate it by slowing down, by breathing differently, by sending a message of safety instead of urgency. This is not a loss of control. It is a return to it. Once you understand this, a new question emerges, one that changes the direction of everything that follows. If this nerve truly holds the key, how do you activate it correctly, quickly, and safely, without pills, without equipment, and without putting more pressure on yourself than your body can handle? 4. Why pills don't fix the root problem. Let me say something that may surprise you, especially if you've relied on medication to get through intimate moments. The very thing many men turn to for reassurance can quietly train the body to stay disconnected. Not because pills are evil, not because they never work, but because they address blood flow without addressing the reason blood flow stopped responding in the first place. I've watched men place enormous hope in a small tablet. The ritual becomes familiar. Take the pill, wait, monitor the body, hope it works this time. And when it does, the relief is real, but brief. When it doesn't, the disappointment cuts deeper than before. What hurts most is not the physical failure, it's the feeling of dependence, the sense that confidence now lives in a bottle instead of within you. Here is the uncomfortable truth. Medications can force blood into the penis, but they cannot convince the nervous system that it is safe. And after 60, safety is the deciding factor. If the nervous system remains guarded, the erection created by medication often feels fragile. It fades quickly. It feels mechanical. Sometimes it doesn't show up at all, even with the pill, leaving men confused and ashamed. This is not because your body is resisting you. It is because your body is still listening to the same message it has learned over decades. Stay alert. Stay protected. Don't let your guard down. A pill does not change that message. In some cases, it even amplifies pressure. Men begin to think, I took the pill, so it has to work. That expectation alone can trigger anxiety, which shuts the nervous system down faster than anything else. There is also a quiet, emotional toll that few men talk about. Relying on medication can make intimacy feel scheduled instead of spontaneous. It can pull you out of the moment and into your head. Instead of connection, there is calculation. Instead of presence, there is performance. Over time, this erodes the very intimacy men are trying to preserve. I have seen men who assumed medication was their only option regain confidence once they understood this distinction. When they stopped seeing pills as the solution and started seeing them as a temporary aid at best, something shifted. They stopped fighting their bodies. They stopped measuring themselves by a chemical response. And for the first time in years, they felt a sense of agency return. This does not mean medication has no place. It means it should never be the foundation. A foundation built on force is unstable. A foundation built on nervous system regulation is resilient. When the body feels calm and safe, blood flow follows naturally, often more reliably than any pill could promise. And this realization opens the door to the most important question yet. If pills can't teach the body to relax, what can? What simple, natural method allows you to speak directly to the nervous system and change how your body responds, sometimes in less than a minute, without side effects or dependency? 5. The 60-second technique that rebuilds the signal. What I'm about to tell you may feel almost too simple to be true, and that is exactly why most men overlook it. After years of being told that erections require strength, stimulation, or medication, the idea that 60 seconds could change how your body responds feels impossible. But here is the shock most men never hear. The fastest way to restore erection reliability after 60 is not by adding more effort, but by removing the tension your body has been holding for decades. Your body has been listening to your breath your entire life. Long before words, long before logic, breath was how your nervous system learned whether it was safe or threatened. Shallow, rushed breathing signals, danger. Slow, controlled breathing signals, safety. And safety is the language erections respond to. This is why so many men describe a sudden shift the first time they do this correctly. Not excitement, not arousal yet, but a deep sense of release. Shoulders drop. The jaw unclenches. The chest softens. The body stops bracing itself. That moment of calm is not accidental. It is your nervous system receiving permission to stand down. The technique itself is simple, but its impact is profound. You breathe in slowly through your nose for 4 seconds, allowing the air to fill your chest and abdomen. You hold that breath gently for 2 seconds, not forcing, not tightening. Then you exhale through your mouth for 8 full seconds, letting the breath leave your body completely. This long exhale is where the magic happens. It activates the pathway that tells your nervous system, you are safe now. You repeat this cycle 3 times, less than 1 minute, and yet within that minute, the internal environment begins to change. Blood pressure lowers, heart rate slows, pelvic muscles begin to relax. Blood flow is no longer being restricted by tension. This is not imagination. This is physiology responding exactly as it was designed to. I've had men sit across from me, skeptical, guarded, emotionally tired. They agree to try it simply because they feel they have nothing left to lose. And after 60 seconds, they look up at me with surprise in their eyes. They describe a warmth they haven't felt in years, a sense of presence returning to their body. Not an erection yet, but the foundation for one. And that foundation is everything. What makes this technique powerful is not just what it creates, but what it prevents. It stops the spiral of overthinking. It interrupts performance anxiety. It pulls you out of your head and back into your body. Instead of asking, is it working yet? Your body begins to answer on its own. This is why I encourage men to use this before intimacy, not during panic. Do it before bed. Do it before touch. Do it before expectations enter the room. Let your body arrive first. When calm comes first, arousal follows naturally. But breath is only one doorway into this system. There is another path, quieter, even more discreet, that allows you to reinforce this calming signal through a place few men would ever suspect. And once you learn it, you'll understand why some men feel their bodies soften almost instantly when they use it. 6. The ear connection. Most men never learned. What I'm about to share often catches men completely off guard because it doesn't look like medicine and it doesn't feel like effort. In fact, it looks almost insignificant. And yet, this is precisely why it works. Some of the most powerful signals in the human body come from the quietest places. One of those places is your ear. For decades, men have been taught to believe that erections are controlled from the waist down. Focus here, fix this, stimulate more. But the body doesn't work in isolated parts. It works through communication. And one of the most direct communication lines to your nervous system runs through a place you've likely never considered as part of intimacy. Branches of the vagus nerve pass through specific areas of the ear. This means gentle stimulation there can send a calming signal straight to the brain, bypassing thought, bypassing effort, bypassing anxiety. It tells the body, in a very direct way, that it no longer needs to stay on guard. I've watched men hear this for the first time and smile politely, unsure. They often think, "Doctor, how could something this simple possibly matter?" But when they try it, the reaction is different. Shoulders soften, breathing deepens, the face relaxes. A subtle warmth begins to move through the chest and down into the lower body. Not excitement, not pressure, just a quiet sense of release. The technique itself is gentle by design. You place your thumb just behind the ear, your index finger inside the front fold. You move slowly, in small circles, for a few seconds forward and then back. You breathe naturally while you do it. There is no force involved, because force would defeat the purpose. This is about invitation, not command. What makes this so meaningful for many men is not just the physical response, but the emotional one. For the first time in a long while, the body responds without being pushed. There is no measuring, no watching, no waiting for something to happen. The nervous system simply begins to settle the way it was meant to. I remember a man in his late 60s who tried this quietly during a session. After a minute, he stopped and looked at me with tears in his eyes. He said, "I didn't realize how tense I've been for so many years." That moment had nothing to do with erections alone. It had everything to do with finally letting the body rest. This technique works best when paired with the breathing method you just learned, but it also stands on its own. You can use it after a stressful day, before intimacy, even while sitting alone. Every time you do, you are reinforcing the same message: you are safe. And when the body truly believes that message, something else begins to happen. But there is a danger here, a mistake many men make right after they start feeling their bodies respond again. And if you don't understand this next part, it can undo everything you've just begun to rebuild. 7. The biggest mistake men over 60 make in the bedroom. Here is a moment that breaks more confidence than most men will ever admit. The moment your body finally responds again, and instead of relief, fear rushes in. Fear of losing it. Fear that it won't last. Fear that this chance might disappear if you don't act immediately. That fear, more than age or health, is what quietly sabotages erections after 60. I have watched this happen countless times. A man tells me, "Doctor, I can get hard again now, but it fades so fast." And when we slow the conversation down, the pattern becomes clear. The instant he feels an erection returning, his mind races. He rushes. He tightens. He holds his breath. He treats the erection like a fragile prize that must be used before it vanishes. In that exact moment, the nervous system senses urgency and pressure, and it does what it was trained to do. It shuts everything down. This is not because the erection was weak. It is because the state that created it was interrupted. After 60, erections are not a switch you flip. They are a state you maintain. And that state requires patience, softness, and time. When you rush, your body interprets that urgency as danger. Blood vessels tighten, pelvic muscles contract. The calm you worked so hard to create disappears in seconds. There is something deeply emotional about this cycle. Men blame themselves. They feel embarrassed. They begin to dread intimacy instead of enjoying it. Some avoid closeness altogether, not because they don't want it, but because they're tired of the disappointment. This quiet withdrawal can damage relationships and self-worth far beyond the bedroom. What many men don't realize is that this mistake comes from caring too much, not too little. The desire to please, the fear of failing, the need to prove you still can. All of it is understandable, but after 60, these emotions must be managed gently, or they will overpower the body's ability to respond. I often use a simple analogy. Imagine starting an engine that hasn't been used in years. If you rev it hard the moment it turns over, it stalls. But if you let it warm slowly, it runs smoothly and reliably. Your body works the same way now. It needs time to settle into arousal. It needs reassurance, not pressure. This is why foreplay is no longer optional. It is essential. Slow touch, deep breathing, staying present instead of watching yourself. When men learn to stay in the moment rather than rush toward an outcome, erections not only last longer, they feel more natural and more satisfying. The most powerful shift happens when you stop treating the erection as the goal and start treating calm connection as the goal. The erection follows on its own. When men truly understand this, something softens inside them. They stop fighting time. They stop fighting themselves. And once this mistake is avoided, a new question opens the door to lasting change. If calm, patience, and consistency are what protect erections after 60, what daily habits can strengthen this response so it becomes reliable again, not just in the bedroom, but throughout your entire life? 8. Daily habits that rebuild confidence and reliability. Here is the shock most men never expect at this stage of life. Erections after 60 are not rebuilt in the bedroom. They are rebuilt quietly, during ordinary moments, through the habits you repeat every single day. What happens at night is only a reflection of what your body has been practicing all along. Many men believe intimacy fails suddenly, but in reality, the nervous system is shaped hour by hour. Long periods of sitting, shallow breathing, poor sleep, constant mental pressure. Over time, these patterns teach the body to stay guarded, and a guarded body cannot respond freely, no matter how much you want it to. The good news is that this process works in both directions. Just as stress trained your body to tighten, simple daily habits can retrain it to open again. This is not about extreme discipline or dramatic lifestyle changes. It is about consistency. Small signals repeated often enough that the nervous system begins to trust them. Strength training, even twice a week, sends a powerful message to your body that you are still capable and resilient. It improves hormone sensitivity and restores a sense of physical confidence that goes far beyond muscle. Gentle cardiovascular movement like walking or swimming improves circulation, not just to the heart, but to the entire vascular system, including the penis. These movements tell the body it can move blood safely and efficiently again. Sleep is another quiet cornerstone. When sleep is short or broken, the nervous system never fully resets. Hormones stay imbalanced. Stress hormones remain elevated. Calm never fully returns. Restful sleep, night after night, does more to restore sexual reliability than most men realize. Then there is stress itself. For decades, many men have carried responsibility without pause. Learning to set boundaries, to slow down, to say no when necessary is not weakness. It is regulation. It tells the nervous system that constant vigilance is no longer required. And finally, there is breath. Just a few slow, intentional breaths in the morning and again at night remind your body that it is safe to relax. These moments may feel insignificant, but to the nervous system, they are deeply meaningful. They are reminders that protection is no longer the default state. What makes these habits powerful is not any single action. It is the accumulation. Over time, the body begins to respond differently. Erections feel more reliable. Confidence returns quietly. Intimacy stops feeling fragile. Men often tell me they didn't realize how much tension they were carrying until it was gone. They thought aging had taken something from them. In truth, it had only asked them to live differently. And when these daily habits are in place, something even more important happens. You stop measuring yourself by performance and start reconnecting with who you are. That realization leads us to the final message I want you to hear, because it may be the most important one of all. 9. Conclusion. Your body is not broken, and your story is not over. Gentlemen, if you take only one message from everything we've discussed, let it be this. Your body did not betray you. It adapted. It protected you. And now, it is waiting for you to listen differently. For far too long, men over 60 have been told that fading erections are simply the price of aging. That belief has caused more harm than any physical change ever could, because it convinced good men to stop believing in their own bodies. What you've learned here is not a trick. It is not a shortcut. It is an understanding. You now know that erections after 60 are not about forcing blood, chasing hormones, or proving anything to anyone. They are about safety, calm, and regulation. They are about speaking to your nervous system in a language it understands, instead of shouting at it with pressure and fear. You've seen how the body shuts down when it feels rushed or judged, and how it opens when it feels safe. You've learned that one nerve quietly controls that switch, and that simple actions like breathing, gentle stimulation, patience, and daily habits can restore what many men thought was lost forever. None of this requires you to become someone new. It simply asks you to stop fighting who you already are. There is a deep relief that comes when men realize this. Relief from shame. Relief from self-blame. Relief from the belief that intimacy is something they are aging out of. I've watched men sit taller, breathe deeper, and reconnect with parts of themselves they had quietly grieved. Not because they became younger, but because they became kinder to their own bodies. You are not late, you are not behind, and you are certainly not alone. Millions of men your age carry the same silent doubts, the same frustrations, the same unspoken fears. The difference is not in whose body works and whose doesn't. The difference is who learns the truth and who continues to suffer in silence. If you choose to take one small step tonight, whether it's 60 seconds of breathing, slowing down instead of rushing, or simply letting go of the urge to force, you are already changing the direction of your story. Change does not arrive as a dramatic moment. It arrives quietly, through consistency, through understanding, and through compassion toward yourself. Your value as a man has never been measured by performance. It has always been measured by presence, connection, and confidence. Those qualities do not fade with age. They deepen when you allow them to. So remember this as you move forward. Your body is not broken. Your nervous system is listening. And when you choose calm over pressure, patience over fear, and understanding over force, you give your body permission to respond again. Your best days of intimacy, confidence, and connection are not behind you. They are waiting for you to meet them differently, and that choice, starting now, is entirely yours. Before you go, I want to ask you for one small favor that truly helps this message reach the men who need it most. If this video spoke to you, please take a moment to like it so more men over 60 can find guidance like this without shame or confusion. Share it with a friend, a brother, or someone you care about who may be struggling silently. And in the comments, let me know where you're watching from and what part of this message resonated with you the most. Your words matter, and they help shape future videos made just for you. If you'd like to support this channel further, your donation helps keep this education free, honest, and accessible to men who don't know where else to turn. Every like, share, comment, and contribution helps build a community where men can learn, heal, and move forward together.